good morning, everybody. Good Tuesday, in fact, as we get rolling on a little hot takes with Goodman and Haertl. That's Alex Becker, our executive producer, who is subbing in for Eric today. He's a little bit under the weather. We'll get back to the big fella coming up tomorrow, but much to get to today. You know, the Nuggets gave up 130 last night. Eric and I were just talking about their defense being one of the 3 or 4 best in the NBA, but 2 of the 3 games that they've lost, they're 10-3 now. 2 of the 3 games they've lost, they've given up 130 points plus. So I'm not sure what to make of the Nuggets. They seem to have games every now and then where, and maybe this is just a hangover for me from years past, where they just don't seem very interested. And last night was one of those games where, to me, and I didn't see a lot of it, but I saw enough of it to kind of come away with the conclusion, you're playing a Bulls team that, Josh Giddey's their best player. And so I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a little more concentration, a little more defensive emphasis, a little more defensive effort. But I guess I shouldn't be splitting hairs for a team that's 10-3 to start the season.
Yeah, exactly. Was it the third quarter they gave up 40 points last night?
40 points.
I felt like that was the difference to me. But still, I mean, first home loss. It was going to happen at some point. The Bulls started out hot. They've kind of cooled off since then. But yeah, I think it was a lack of effort, lack of concentration on the defensive end at times. And, you know, it was a shootout. I guess that's the recipe to beat the Nuggets. Score 130 on them, and maybe got a shot at them. But
yeah,
I'm not too worried about the loss last night. I think they'll get it figured out.
Well, you can't worry about a loss in November in the NBA when really the NBA doesn't even start until January or February, right? So you just hope that. My whole thing with the Nuggets this year, very simply, is just stay close enough to Oklahoma City to have a chance to compete with them come springtime or late winter in the West. That's my deal. Just be, don't be 10 games behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. Don't be 3rd or 4th in the West, and I don't think they will be. I don't think the West is that good. I thought the West was going to be better than it is, but I'm not sure that we're there yet. I think Oklahoma City and the Nuggets, maybe Minnesota at some point, can be good teams at that. But I'm not exactly sure. They just need to stay close to Oklahoma City at this particular point. But anyway, that a lack of defense for the Nuggets. Let's talk about a lack of offense when we get to the lead here this morning with the Broncos.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Alex, I'm not one to gripe about the offense or the perceived lack of offense with the Broncos. Obviously, when you have back-to-back games like they had in Houston and then at home against the Raiders, it's going to raise some eyebrows, and rightfully so. I totally get that. I'll give you that. But when you score 22 points against a team like the Chiefs, who were the 7th best defense in the NFL going into that game, and we're only giving up 17 points a game, that's the model for success against the Chiefs. Hold them down with your defense, which they were able to do, giving up only 19 points, and then score just enough to beat a team that was one of only 2 teams in the National Football League going in last week that were in the top 7, both in total offense and total defense. But a lot has been made of the tempo, and it continues to be a question. I'm in the gaggle of media each and every week that's out there, and we get to talk to Sean on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Sundays, and inevitably the question of tempo comes up, and apparently it was more of an issue on the sideline this last week, the pace of play, Sean talked about it afterwards, saying, hey, look, we played 3 or 4 plays in up tempo. You got to be careful about when you're using tempo. I thought Sean Payton called a pretty good football game last weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I really did. They had 6 plays, 6 passing plays for better than 15 yards. So they didn't have much, obviously, in the run game. That didn't work particularly well. I think their largest gain from scrimmage was 8 yards. But I thought there was enough dynamic presence in the passing game, including the 2 big plays in the last drive, that really, to me, gives him a high mark for the game that he called on Sunday, tempo notwithstanding. Now, maybe this becomes more of an issue. Maybe this is something that Bo Nix is going to demand. We've seen Bo Nix be very demonstrative with his head coach. I don't think he has a hesitation to push the issue. And if the offensive line is joining with him in this thing, I don't think it's mutinous by any stretch. I just think it's trying to get on the same page. Am I wrong about this?
No, I don't think that's far off at all. Like you were talking about the up tempo. I love the aggressiveness too on that last drive.
Right.
The 3rd and 14 to Cortland Sutton, going for the win really with Troy Franklin. That was like vintage Sean Payton right there. Just going for the knockout, playing aggressive. I really like that up tempo-ness. And I was looking at some of the play chart. The opening drive took 14 plays and 54 yards.
Right.
It took about 7.5 minutes off the clock. And I think that did meant a lot to the offense in the locker room against that Chiefs defense. So, I liked what I saw. And I'm not too worried about the relationship between Bo Nix, Sean Payton, 2 competitive guys just getting after it. I'm
with you on that. I think we've gotten to a place sometimes, and I want to be careful about painting with a broad brush, where just the smallest little detail is harped upon by people. And all that is just a fleeting image. It gives you no sense for where the relationship really is. I had a good friend of mine from Wichita texted me last week and said, were we hearing grumblings about, a discourse between the two? And my response to him was very simple. I'm there every single day, and there's no evidence of that at all with me. And I pay very close attention to what I'm seeing. And I think that the way that you just typified the relationship is the way that you want it. You want 2 very confident type AAA personalities that are doing the best that they can to do the same thing. They both want to win. Now, maybe directions in getting there are a little different. Bo Nix in his 2nd year might be more willing to chime in. Although every time we talk about it, he says those are things that are beyond my pay grade. Those are decisions that are made, and never seems to sound like he has a problem with it. So unless I am missing something going on before my very eyes 3 or 4 days a week, because that's 4 days a week, that's how often I'm around the Broncos, I don't think it's an issue at all. I just think it's a relationship that is continuing to evolve and to develop. And a lot of that has to do with the way that they communicate, and the way that they communicate getting to the same place, which is scoring points and winning football games.
Absolutely. I mean, that's his guy. That is Bo Nix is Sean Payton's guy. He seems like he's going to have his back through the thick and thin, no matter what. I'm sure he was like this with Drew Brees quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think Sean Payton, he even likes when Bo and Brees kind of give it back to him. It just shows their competitive nature, their will to win. I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary as far as a quarterback head coach relationship and just how they communicate. And I mean, they've won 8 in a row. They're 9-2.
Yeah.
It's not much to complain about. over there on the offensive end. And you mentioned the Chiefs defense, how well they've been playing. I mean, Broncos scoring 22 points. That's the second most a team scored against them in the last 6 games. So, I mean, like Detroit scored 17 against them. They shut out the Raiders. Washington only scored 7 on them. So, yeah, I think 22 points is fair against a good defense.
It's been – everyone loves to look at Bo Nix, and in terms like regression have been used. I think that makes Sean Payton bristle. It certainly makes players in that locker room bristle. There more than one player was effusive about the way that Bo Nix attacked, and that was the word that was used, attacked his preparation for the game last weekend against Kansas City. Someone asked me the other day, well, what's different about Bo Nix this year? And I said, well, he's 8-2. That's different than where they were 10 games in last year. Now they're 9-2. And I get it if people are looking at the back 3 quarters of the way the offense moved last year under Bo Nix, where they were averaging 26, 28 points a game. I mean, it did look different. Bo Nix did look different in that offense. I do think that there's something to, even though Sean Payton thinks that this is way overblown, I think when you have a body of work for a player, and especially a body of work within a system on film, and you are preparing for a player or a system each week, which is what opposing defenses are doing, how can you not be a little bit more familiar with what they're trying to do and try to take that away? A really good example is, and actually they had some success against the Chiefs, interestingly, with the naked boot. They haven't had a lot of success. They had it in the preseason, most famously the one long sideline route that they got from Evan Ingram on a naked boot in the exhibition season. But other than that, really up until the Kansas City game, opposing defenses had done a really good job with their outside backer or defensive end, whatever it is, staying home on that play to check off any kind of naked boots. And that play, that look was not having success for the Broncos. They had a little more success in that look against the Chiefs. But I do think that there is familiarity, and I do think that people are trying to take things away from Bo Nix. But here's the deal, and this isn't enough of an answer for some people, and I understand that. People want it to be pretty. They want it to be productive. They want, bells and whistles and scores going, up and down the field. And I understand it. It's attractive. But what's more attractive? 9-2. Now, you can have the discussion, okay, 9-2, but offensively, is it sustainable to win games? Well, the answer is they've won 8 in a row. Maybe at some point they're going to lose a game, and then everybody can throw their hands up and say, well, I told you the offense wasn't just good enough. They've got the number 1 seed right now in the AFC. They've got the number 1 seed in the AFC. We've got 6 weeks left to play, 7 weeks left to play in terms of time, 6 weeks left to play in terms of games for this whole thing to play out. There's still a lot of football that can change things up. But right now, I'm just not sure how people can take exception to the way the Broncos are functioning.
It's been sustainable for an 8-game win streak. That's what I would say to those people. And they're making enough plays, and they're making plays when they really need it in the fourth quarter, when it really counts. And it hasn't looked pretty at times, but it was quite an improvement, I'd say, this week from the Raiders game, where the offense was kind of anemic the entire game. And the way they started out, mentioned that 14-play first drive, you could tell that they had worked on quite a few things throughout the week and made some adjustments. And It's
Alex. They only had two
winning football.
outs.
It's winning
football. They only
football.
had 2 3 and outs. This is a team that has let, and this is a fair pushback for those that complain about the offense. This is a team that went into last weekend leading the NFL in punts.
Wow.
Yeah. This was a team that was leading the NFL or second in the NFL in 3 and outs. But the offense moved, I thought, with enough rhythm. And I think Eric was yesterday. I sensed that he was a little confused when I said I thought that the offense was pretty good in the game on Sunday. There are elements of the offense that wasn't very good. They didn't run the ball very much. And if in a linear fashion you just look at 58 yards rushed, well, okay, you're right. But when they had to run the ball late in the game, they were able to do it. They were able to do what they needed to do. And so and the running game is a cumulative effect. So yeah, I don't know. It's still a work in progress. You would like to see it more fluid, but this is another thing. I was doing some morning TV after the show yesterday, and one of the anchors, who is a really good football fan, says, just not a very good offense. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, check how many games in the NFL are 1-score games. I said, here's the thing. We live in Denver, and we have a front row seat to what the Broncos do every week. And that is the model for us, because that's what we pay attention to. We see the Broncos on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis. And yes, there are elements of frustration in the rhythm of the offense. But if you look around the NFL, there aren't blowouts. I mean, Jacksonville beats the Chargers the way they did. That's a one-off in the NFL. Yeah. That happens very infrequently in the NFL. What you have in the NFL is a bunch of games that are decided by 1 score. I think 5 of the 6 early games last weekend were decided by a single score, if you include 8 as a single score as well. And then a bunch in the afternoon were as well. That's the way this league is week to week. It's the way that it's designed. That's what they want in the NFL. They want parity-driven competition. So anyway, to me, the ultimate indication of how you're doing and how Bo Nix is doing is 9-2. I mean, and they've got and Alex, they're going to be favored in each of their next 2 games, both of them on the road, to improve to 11-2.
11-2.
When you get to 11-2 and you're sitting there with 4 games left in the season, you're talking about being the number 1 seed in the AFC, maybe the number 2 seed in the AFC. Now they've got the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Jaguars and the Packers in those other 4 games. That, I mean, those are games that you could very easily split. I get it. But even if you do it at that point, you're looking at 13-4. You're playing at home at 13-4. You're winning your division at 13-4. So, I mean, to me, that's where it starts. It doesn't always finish at that, but to me, that's what you look at. And to me, that's where Bo Nix is. Bo Nix is 9-2 this year as the starting quarterback. He wasn't 9-2 after 11 games last year. They were heating up a little bit, but go back and check the record. He's a 9-2 quarterback, so they're winning games. And yes, they're winning games with defense. Okay, I get it. But the offense has continued to do their part, and they've done it 5 times in the fourth quarter. That makes people uncomfortable. But that's the National Football League. You play close games. So, in terms of what you would like to see, let's get back to the tempo. What would you like to see in a perfect world based on what we've seen to this point of the Broncos offense?
Well, I mean, Dobbins is going to be very tough to replace.
Yep.
I would like to see RJ Harvey try to, I don't know, get stronger as the game goes on. I mean, I'm thinking about 15 carries probably per game for Harvey, which was right around what J.K. Dobbins was getting. But he's going to need to probably step it up a little bit. He's so good in the short passing game.
Yep.
Those short passes they're going to that a few times on Sunday, but probably that, and then just keep getting Evan Ingram involved too. And then Sutton, he's been great on third down, but I'd like to see him utilized, right away. Just look for him. Look for your number one guy in the offense. I think maybe those three things.
Has he become more quiet in the offense all of a sudden? I mean, he had 8 targets last week. I think they had 3 receivers with 8 targets in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So he was certainly looked for. He's getting a lot of extra attention from defenses. I think that's probably something that they're dealing with right now. But I hear you. Yeah, he played like a number 1 early in the season, and he's still playing well. I'm not saying it's hard when if a defense is looking to take a target away, for instance, it's hard to combat that. It is. If they're sending 2 guys on him, or if they're shading a safety that way, where you can get help against a guy like Courtland Sutton. I mean, I get it, but yeah, I think that they've got to keep him continually in the offense a little bit. But I think it'll be interesting to see how this offense continues to evolve. I, for one, don't think that Sean Payton is so stubborn that he doesn't evolve and adjust. He talks about it so much. I think it's a core of his belief value in terms of running an offense. Now, look, he's done it for a lot of years very successfully. He knows what he wants to get out of his offense. We saw what he got out of his offense with his play calling on Sunday. I give him a very strong grade. Not that anyone cares what I think, but I thought he was really good in his play selection. I thought he dialed up things when he needed to. Halfback pass notwithstanding. I mean, there's always seems to be a play like that, and that's part of the cuteness of it, I guess. That it's not my. In fact, Bo Nix made a hell of a play with 2 guys over there just to keep the ball from being, intercepted and returned basically as a pick 6.
Yeah, Harvey shouldn't have thrown that.
No, should, and he didn't sell it. I mean. Yeah, and on top of it, it was a toss. It was a toss out of pistol that you just don't make. Like the quick tosses are made under center, right? And I think that, and I'm pretty sure that, and I don't have it in my notes right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he was in pistol and just made a little pitch. That play, that setup for the play, doesn't look like anything that would work anyway. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta have urgency on the play, and then you've got to be able to sell it. And I didn't think that RJ sold it at all. But be that as it may, I think it's going to be I think that he is a guy that is willing to meet you somewhere in terms of what you're doing offensively. So I'll be really interested to see what the Broncos look like moving forward, because I do think, for the naysayers, I will at least say this much. You would like to think that you can be in rhythm offensively and that you can be two-headed in your attack. And right now they're going to have a challenge figuring out the running game a little bit. Maybe they pick up, we talk about running backs being a dime a dozen. Well, if they really are a dime a dozen, then maybe there's someone on a practice squad that can give them a little bit of help. I thought Jaleel McLaughlin was actually pretty good. I thought the time that they used him, I thought he was actually okay. But RJ Harvey he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. You say 15, that seems like a pretty good number. Can you carry it 13 to 15 times, and can you get it to 4.2 or 3 yards a carry? With this offensive line, you would like to think that can happen, but we just didn't see it happen last weekend.
Right. Yeah, he was at 2.7 on Sunday. So maybe with another week, he can figure it out, and against a weaker run defense too in Washington. So, but that's something he hasn't had to do all season long. So,
let's talk about the defense for a second, and then we'll move on to some other things coming up in the next segment. Want to get a little bit to Shedeur Sanders and his forced debut in the ball game last weekend. By the way, also his house was apparently, or his apartment, wherever he's living now in Cleveland, was apparently broken into. The details on it are somewhat hazy, whether there was stuff taken, what the deal was, but nonetheless dealing with that too, of course, while he was playing. What does it say about what Vance Joseph is doing with this defense and the depth of this defense, that you can be without Pat Surtain, not just last weekend against the Chiefs, but for the last 3 weekends, go 3-0, turn around, beat the Chiefs without Surtain, without Alex Singleton, your leading tackler. You're talking about two very key guys defensively on that football team. Yeah. And yet, Alex, over the last 3 weeks since Pat Surtain has been out, this defense really hasn't skipped a beat at all. It's pretty remarkable. Some of it is the depth. Some of it is the scheme and the way that they use the depth. But a lot of it is just want to and the ability to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, how about Jahdae Barron covering Travis Kelce and doing a pretty good job when he was on Kelce, or the corner blitz that Vance brought on 3rd and 10, where Jaquan McMillan rushes the quarterback, and that's maybe one of the biggest plays in the game, or Chris Abrams drain holding his spot down over on the field. So I think that goes to show the depth, but also the ability by Vance to scheme it up and put these guys in good positions to succeed. It's just a well-oiled machine right now. No matter who they put in there, it is doing well. And I like it. I mean, it's great to have all these guys in the secondary that are capable. Abrams drains probably a starter on 30 of the 32 teams, right around there. So it's just great to see. And Jahdae Barron seems like he's getting a lot better too.
Agreed. Those are the two things that are happening. Jahdae Barron is growing up before our very eyes and is doing things now that should, as long as he stays healthy down the season stretch, just with his versatility and his confidence that's obviously growing right now, he is going to be a really key piece, especially when I expect Pat Surtain to return in time for the game in Washington. But Chris Abrams' drain on the other side of Riley Moss. We've talked a lot about the PIs with Riley Moss, who's been dealing with it. He's still being targeted pretty regularly. But Chris Abrams' drain has just done has quietly and confidently gone about his business and has played really exceptional football in the last 3 weeks, or it's really 2.5 games. He has been nothing short of outstanding. We always talk about the best kind of umpire is an umpire that you never notice during a baseball game, right? I mean, he's doing he or her job, and you never notice them. It's not quite the same with the corner, but he's been that way. You barely even noticed him. And that's because he's done such a great job in coverage. And that's not, and Riley Moss is getting not beaten, but he's getting tested in other ways. But Chris Abrams' drain, when you basically take over for Pat Surtain and most of the traffic is still going the other way against Riley Moss, especially the deep balls. I mean, you know, that they're testing him deep. For the depth that they have at that position group is remarkable. And I said this yesterday on the show, while I was a Travion Henderson guy, and by the way, I will stick with that. I think Travion Henderson would have been a really nice pick for the Broncos. They went a different direction, more power to them. But how good does it look now for this defense to have a Jahdae Barron who's getting this kind of valuable work, and Chris Abrams' drain, who will be ready to go the next time should Pat Surtain need a break or if how they configure their dime. You know, they've got really good corners all over the field.
They sure do. I mean, every time Abrams Drain's gotten an opportunity, he's played well. Saw it at the end of last year. Every time he's had to fill in this year, starting with the Houston game, he's done very well. So it's just great to have a plug-and-play guy like that. And, you know, I'm loving it. Hopefully Surtain's back for the Washington game, which is, you know, just another boost. But good to have these guys in his absence, you know, fill the void.
No question about it. And Dre Greenlaw is Dre Greenlaw. Go to a game and just watch Dre Greenlaw play, man. The guy is smart. He's intuitive. He can see things before they happen. He arrives at the ball with really harmful intent. He is a remarkable player to watch. So anyway, all well with the Broncos right now in the bye week, and hopefully they're all out of here having a good time getting away from a little football and getting their batteries recharged. All right, when we continue, let's get into the debut of Shedeur Sanders. It has been a really highly dissected debut already nationally. What do we see from Shedeur Sanders, who is scheduled to make his debut as a starter this weekend in Las Vegas? Back here in just a moment.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Here's another great promotion from Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. On December 13th, it's their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, and kitchen appliances. Earn auction currency with every locked-up jackpot, players' points, or a daily cash drawing. There's so many ways to earn currency, and the more you play, the more you'll be able to bid and win what you want at their auction. So get up to Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos and start stacking your auction currency today.
All right, welcome back as we get rolling into the next segment of the show. Let's get to Shedeur Sanders. 23-16 loser to the Baltimore Ravens, who are hot, by the way, 5-5 now on the season, and a team to be paid attention to. The Browns 2-8, just kind of bumbling along, but the second half of that football game did see the debut of Shedeur Sanders, Alex. 4 of 16 for 47 yards and interception, no touchdowns. He was sacked twice for 27 yards. It was inauspicious, to say the least. But really, what do you expect? Really, no. I mean, what did people expect for a guy that had absolutely no reps at all with the number one offense anytime during the week, which isn't unusual this time of the year. So do we give him a pass and wait and see what happens this week with Vegas, or are we just going to jump to conclusions?
You got to give him another week.
Right.
Wait and see what happens here with the Raiders. Give him a full week of preparation. I saw Stefanski confirmed after the game that the second half of the game was Shedeur Sanders' first snaps with the starting offense since he was drafted.
Right.
At no other point did he ever get reps with the first teamer. So it's not fair, I don't think, to get thrown in a game he was probably unprepared to come in there at halftime for Gabriel. I know it wasn't pretty. He did have a chance there at the very end too to go on a game-winning drive, and
he did.
It came up a little bit short. I think we got to evaluate after this week, where it's a full real week of prep, and then we can decide whether he's ready to play or not.
There's one thing that concerns me already, and it's his presence in the pocket. The 2 sacks that he took, he took huge yardage with, and you can't do this in the NFL. I mean,
I've seen that before.
In college football, maybe you can be good enough to overcome that kind of yardage given up in a sack. He lost 27 yards in 2 sacks, which means that, he's trying to make a play when there is no play. And you don't, in the NFL, generally want to run back out of the pocket. You want to run forward out of the pocket. If you're in heat, then take the heat at the front of the pocket, not as you are reversing field, because then you're behind the sticks and you are essentially giving up 2 possessions, because an offense in the NFL is not going to make up, 30 yards, 25 yards in 3 plays. Just doesn't happen very often. So, but having said that, I want to see Shedeur with preparation. I want to see Shedeur with with a level of confidence that he most assuredly has. I don't know how much belief in himself that he has at this moment, at this level, but my guess is that if he has some confidence just in the understanding of what he needs to do for an offense, then he's going to be much better out there. I think at the very least, we're going to get to see enough. And this, by the way, is if Dillon Gabriel doesn't end up getting cleared out of protocol. He's in protocol right now. I haven't seen anything today that it would indicate that he is going to get cleared from the protocol, from the concussion protocol. But I would like to see Shedeur Sanders get a couple of starts, because then you get a real sense for maybe what you have. And that's the thing in the NFL. you better be able to do what you need to do when you get the opportunity to do it, because when you are buried as deep as he is on the depth chart, and I know he's got name recognition, I know he's got that, but you better be able to do things when you have the chance to do it, even if it's just a little sliver. Do something that allows you moving forward to get more chances to play. It seems to me that Dylan Gabriel had them, up at halftime, they were up by 3 points. They were in a position to win the football game in that first half. So I don't know how to feel about Shedeur Sanders at this level, because we haven't seen him. We saw him in 2 playoff games, one of which he was pretty impressive in, and the other one he was not very good in at all. So not enough, incomplete, right? Just not enough information to make a strong. And yet you get Rex Ryan and guys like that who just seem to are loaded for bear on Shedeur Sanders, ready to he didn't like his body language, sitting on the bench after the loss in what he considered to be an attention-seeking effort. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on. I did like LeJohntay Wester going up and sitting next to him, former Buffs, kind of consoling him. But it feels like Rex Ryan's he's got a vendetta against Shedeur. He's just out to get him. It's always negative.
Yeah, it's always negative, never a positive thing at all. Look, I get it. He was a guy that wore his bravado on his sleeve, legendary, all of that stuff at CU. I get that. And I understand that there are probably certain people out there that, for whatever reason, want to see someone like that get their comeuppance. Okay. I guess that's kind of the world that we live in. I'm cheering for the kid. And I want to see him do well. This is his dream. And somewhere along the line, that he's eating some humble pie right now, but he's got an opportunity. This is his chance to get out there and lead an offense and make something happen. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders can be a good quarterback at the NFL level. He certainly showed an ability in terms of his accuracy in college. He was a highly accurate thrower. He could throw on the move. We've talked about the going backwards. That's always been a pet peeve of mine with Shedeur. He gave up way too many yards in college football, and you don't want to do that in the NFL. But hey, what do the Browns, by the way, have to lose at this point in finding out what they have with Shedeur Sanders? The only thing that they've got right now is an outside linebacker that's on his way to setting a sacks record. And that's a pretty good player. But other than that, the Browns pretty much just suck.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Myles Garrett is the new Joe Thomas for them.
He's phenomenal, isn't he?
Hall of Fame player.
The new Joe Thomas. That's good.
Hall of Fame player that's almost being wasted away with 3-win seasons, 4-win seasons. They're 2-8. They don't have much to play for at all. And yeah, like you said with Shedeur, he's been waiting months for this moment. Really, since since he slipped to the 5th round, he's been waiting for this moment where he gets to start and show everybody and prove all these people wrong. This is the week for him, and he's got to be ready to play. I have a feeling he's going to be a whole lot better than 4 for 16 and an interception.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, frankly, the Raiders are a good team for him to play.
Yeah.
I think
their
they
defense
are.
Didn't look so good last night.
Yeah. It was only whatever. So that's not a very good football team ever. All right, Alex, nice job, man. You carried the weight today. Well done. We'll wish Eric his best in his recovery. He was a little under the weather, but we'll be back tomorrow for another edition of Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Have a great day, everyone.